Crichton, he does. Super League has a lot better forwards than him.
Bernard JKD said, good final. Those new to RL saw a simple but pure version of the game. Okay, no champagne rugby to wow newbies, but that was a titanic struggle. To see a match that was pure attrition was pleasing, absorbing. England's left side attack is championship standard. Bateman should never have been played at centre, really. The World Cup was lost due to that non-existent left side.
Rich Wilkinson says, a great battle and a game of inches. The Aussies were a little off in their kicking game, which gave us a glimpse, but errors in good position early on in the count cost us. A great effort from both teams, and we were so brave, so brave, but that isn't enough, and we lost. I'm proud but pretty deflated and disappointed. It's been great meeting people from all different clubs and having some great banter at all the games.
So brave. Yeah, he'd sent us a few messages along the way, didn't he, about people he'd ran into and that sort of stuff. So he had a great time with his dad over there and all that. I'm glad he had a quality time.
I still wish he'd kicked bloody Boyd Corder in the leg when they met him early in the like I told him to.
Lee Whitnell said, really proud of the boys for the effort, but with a bit more composure and finesse we could easily have won it. And I thought the ref made some poor calls that hurt us, but mostly we just hurt ourselves. We now need to figure out how we're going to turn Williams, Patton, Truman, Lilly, etc. into decisive, ruthless, accomplished halves, and how to cryogenically freeze Jammer, Jerry and Lockers to win it next time. There you go. Well, Jerry will be around next time.
Yeah, you would think so. Do you think Jammer's got 4 more years?
No, Jammer hasn't. No. Lockers ain't.
No, Lockers... I'm surprised Lockers have got 4 more months in him. Right. Cutthroat Jake says, that was a tense match. It was the closest we've been to the Aussies since the early 90s. In order to kick on, we need 3 things. 1, to retain Bennett as coach. 2, a top-class creative halfback. And 3, to stop playing good second rowers in non-pack positions. Bateman did as well as he could, but doesn't have the creative skills of a top centre.
Yeah, but, you know... Mark Percival doesn't have the ability to hang on to the ball of a top international centre.
No, he doesn't. I'm not keen to do the whole John Bateman conversation because I don't think that's what this World Cup final is about.
Well, the people want us to talk about it because it's come up so much in the feedback.
Do you know what? Honestly, no, I don't think John Bateman is a centre.
No, he's not, no.
I don't think we looked as fluent on the left side as we could have done with a natural left-sided centre in that position. Do I think there's a better option out there to play the way Wayne Bennett was setting this team up to play, which is that NRL style of football? Probably not.
I think the only thing that we could have done differently was have him and Curry sort of flip-flop a bit at times.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Sorry,
no, that's the thing. The problem is, and it was all too apparent, is anytime we got into an attacking position where the ball was spreading out towards the left and John Bateman caught the ball, it never looked like it was his natural instinct from years and years of playing rugby league to get that pass out left to Ryan Hall. It always looked like the ball came in and he was concentrating on making sure that he wrapped the ball up and played his
one of the aspects in that was the opposition knew that he didn't have super quick hands, so what they were doing is closing him down and cutting down his decision-making time. What also didn't help is several times passes went behind him or forced him to stop his run. So you can't blame him for the shite passing that happens sometimes.
I'm far from blaming John Bateman.
And do you know what else happened quite a bit?
I'm far from blaming
Ryan Hall overran him several times. Several times Ryan Hall overran him.
Yeah.
And probably partly because Ryan Hall hadn't got the pace to beat the man that he's going to be coming up against if he got the ball in hand, so he's kind of trying to preempt it and get on the front foot. And I'm not slagging Ryan Hall off for his performances because I thought he was great in defence, great in exit sets, finished his opportunities when he got them and they were limited, and they were not his fault that they were limited. But some of the stuff that kept getting or every time the ball that went that way, it was Bateman's fault that England didn't score a try. Well, no, it wasn't Bateman's fault that England didn't score a try. It was Kevin Brown's stupid fucking fault for going blindside, narrow side on tackle fucking 2 of your first attacking opportunity in that second half. After knackering them out with our forward work and beating them to the point where we were winning the field position game. Let's all go blindside, Gale and Brown. Let's think that's a good idea, and when we know that side hasn't worked anyway, and let's blame it on Bateman because he couldn't put Hall through. Bollocks.
Well, we've drifted away from our point, which is not to blame John Bateman.
Gale threw a pass on another early tackle set behind John Bateman. Now, John Bateman made the knock-on the floor, which was John Bateman's fault because he should have been able to get on top of that ball and not knock it on. But it was an absolute garbage pass because we went trying to force a situation where we were going to score a try down a side where we didn't have the right setup to score those types of tries.
Okay.
We kept trying to do it. Yeah. And it wasn't just... The failing wasn't just John Bateman. It was the tactics of trying to rush the passes out that way with someone who's not got those hands to score a try on tackle 1 or 2 of an attacking set and waste the whole thing. I was so annoyed.
Just reiterate, I wasn't blaming John Bateman.
No, I'm annoyed at the way those halfbacks didn't take control of those situations correctly. I'm annoyed that they showed impatience. I get the argument that play like we play in England, don't play like Australians because, hey, they're going to be able to defend that better. However... play like that once you've earned the chance to play like that.
Yeah,
because when you're playing in England, the intensity isn't going to be there.
No.
The same way that it's going to be there when you're playing in international rugby league.
Yeah. And this is where I think we ended up losing the game.
Yeah.
Or the reason we didn't win the game. Because plan A, which was the Wayne Bennett NRL style of rugby league, was winning us... we were behind, but was putting us in a position to give us the opportunity to win the game. What we didn't do is flick into plan B when we were near the Aussie line and execute our more free-flowing style of rugby league and score the points when we needed to.
But you know why we're behind? Because Australia, did that thing where they put sets back to back, where they put kicks into the in-goal area, so that actually they tired the defence out to an extent where... there was going to be half a gap. And that's all it really was. Yeah. Half a chance of running a second rower at a half-back.
Yeah. And
that's all it was.
Boyd Cordner's try came on the back of the 4th repeat set that Australia had generated during that passage of play.
And they dominated us early doors,
15 minutes, and they've been really, really on top of us. And let's go back to that then. So... that comes at a point in the game where Australia have generated 4 repeat sets, really put us under pressure. Now, at that point, at 6-0 after 14 minutes... the way the game had been progressing, I was really quite worried. I thought that we were going to potentially see a quick bang from Australia and maybe go 12 to 16 points behind, and that would be game over. But it didn't happen that way. We backed ourselves defensively, and we managed to keep them from going over again.
Yeah,
and they didn't score again in the game.
No, so our forwards were really
phenomenal. James Graham in that game for me.
It wasn't the kind of game where they put up big running meters.
No, but the work
because there was so much kicking. So it was all the backs who put up the big running meters. Jerry had 192 meters, Callum Watkins 166, Ryan Hall 153, John Bateman 113. So for pretty much every game those 4 have played in, they all went over 100 meters. I think only the semi-final where they didn't all go over 100 meters. Australia, similarly, Dane Gagai 206 metres, Valentine Holmes 197, and it would have been also different if it had taken in that near intercept. It would have had 250, 280 metres in the try, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And 153 metres for Josh Dugan as well. Whereas the highest metre gain in forward got 115, that was Boyd Cordner.
Just to get back to Valentine Holmes, if he hadn't gone for that intercept, it would have also been a very, very different game because we would more than likely have gone in because he was committed. He needed to try and get to that ball, didn't he?
Yeah, and Callum Watkins, for all, that he's done great, and I think this has been the best I've ever seen him play. It's an all-round play. He didn't make any monumental line-jumping defensive mistakes. He did make one mistake in this game when he delayed putting Jerry through.
Right.
It might have been in the first half.
Right. So I'm struggling to remember that.
When he tried to I think he tried to draw the man into contact when he'd already drawn the man enough that Jerry needed the ball in space so he had a chance of beating the fullback. But what actually happened is Jerry got the ball a bit slower, which allowed the covering defenders and the fullback to get into position to contain Jerry.
Right.
So then Jerry, I think in the end, ended up knocking on, trying to force something.
Yeah.
And then there was the ankle. Well, do you know what? I still can't see where he took. It must have been the most ridiculously slightest of touches of fingernail on stud or something.
Yeah.
Because what a covering tackle that was by Dugan.
Yeah, fair play, Josh Dugan. That was phenomenal. And these are the tiny, tiny margins that we're talking about in this game. Yeah. And it really, really was that close.
Do you think Do you think not having Sean O'Loughlin in there was a huge factor in these sort of consistent inability to build our attacks near the line? Because you were left with just the two halfbacks trying to force things rather than another player between them. That means you don't have to force things as much because there's another passer. There's another player who's going to draw a defender and pass the ball. Which is how we scored the try we did score against Australia in the first game. It's how we scored tries, throughout, really.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And if we were England pre-Wayne Bennett setting up that way, I would say it probably does have a big impact. But he's been growing and developing this team to play that NRL style of football. So I think he's probably fairly happy to be able to deploy Sam Burgess in at 13, to be honest. And when you think that we've got a very good ball handling fullback coming into the line as well in Gareth Widdop, maybe it's not the biggest issue in the world. Would I have preferred to see Sean O'Loughlin out there? Absolutely, because he's Mr. England and he's the best ball playing loose forward of his generation. So I would have him out there every day of the week, given the opportunity to. He's obviously not fit enough and you can't risk him. I don't think it makes...
I think we missed him hugely in an attack close to their line. I think it limited our options massively compared to the ways we had been scoring close to people's line in the tournament before that.
I think we have enough. I think we had enough on the field to have beaten Australia, and I think it comes down to...
Yeah, I agree.
I think it comes down to...
Execution
some execution issues.
But do you think the execution of those plays would have been better with a player like Sean O'Loughlin?
No, because I don't think having Sean O'Loughlin on the field necessarily legislates for the odd knock-on that other people made.
Tom Burgess is the knock-on.
Well, I'm not even close to rolling my eyes at that, because he's been knocking on for time in immemorial.
Which is a question mark over the way Wayne Bennett used the bench in those last 15 minutes, because
Tom Burgess can be an absolutely devastating runner of the ball,
and he made 111 metres in the game. He was powerful. He was,
we've seen him starting to use a sidestep. We've seen him really, really develop as a footballer during his time in the NRL. And to be fair, from what I've seen of him, his handling errors have dropped off, but they became
big times in games.
Well, this is the problem. He doesn't knock on the halfway line. He knocks on your own 20-metre line or on the opposition's 10-metre line. That's where Tom Burgess.
Well, he knocks on everywhere, but he knocks on late
line, but you notice it
in important moments in the game.
Yeah.
I was surprised that it was him that came back on at that time, and not Walmsley. If it was a Super League coach, dealing with that rotation at that time, it was Walmsley coming on.
Yeah, Walmsley was phenomenal in that World Cup.
He trusted the wrong player in that moment. I think.
Well,
but
these are fine margins, because Tom Burgess's knock-on doesn't matter if Josh Dugan is fractionally late to the ankle tap. It doesn't matter if Valentine Holmes doesn't go for the intercept. These things, do you know what I mean? I'm not pinning the blame on anybody.
Yeah.
Australia deserved to win this game. What encouraged me and what made me probably was more devastating is because we were so close and because we could have legitimately won the game. Australia deserved to win and are deserved world champions. I don't think it's that we. I don't feel robbed. What was disappointing is that I wanted it, and I even used the turn of phrase with my mum, because I watched it at my mum and dad's house, with Erin playing very, very quietly and being exceptionally good in the background. But even my mum, who's very, very uninterested in rugby, said, it's close, isn't it? Do you think they're going to win? And I looked up at her and went, it's the hope that kills you, mum. So I do think Australia deserved to win the game. The disappointing and crushing thing for me is how close we came to winning it, because if you'd said to me that England would be nilled in the final, I would have found that very, very hard to believe. But if you'd said to me that England would keep Australia to 6 points in the final,
not the same final that I would have 4 years ago, is it?
No, of course it's not. It's not the blowout final, and that's what's that's what's encouraging for me.
We had an opportunity here with this Australian team. They were not great on the night. They didn't overpower us. They didn't outplay us. They didn't.
But that's not due to them not turning up. That's due to us matching them, I think.
Yeah, completely. And everything we did, we matched them, apart from that composure in the attacking area. And so I don't think they beat us.
Yeah.
I think we lost it. I think we lost this game.
I don't think... It helps me to not think of it in terms of lack of composure. It helps me to think of it as two key incidents. That tremendous Josh Dugan covering ankle tap, which has nothing to do with our lack of composure, and Valentine Holmes having to go out and go for that intercept. If the Val Holmes makes a different choice, that ball ends up in an England player's hand and we go over for a try. So those are the two